Hey, what's up everybody? It's Julius DeBerry with Majestic Studios. Have you ever wanted to be able to use your Yamaha Montage or your Montage M as a master MIDI controller to control other synths in your studio or in your live gig or even sound modules that you have? If that's something that you're interested in, then please stick around for a little while. I'm going to show you guys how to set that up and how to get the most from your Montage as a MIDI controller. Let's go. So a question came up on one of my friends' Facebook pages, and someone called what I said into question. So I wanted to kind of sit down and show it instead of versus just saying it. I wanted to show you guys how to set it up and how it moves and how it works. They were asking about using the Montage with the Nord specifically. They wanted to be able to use the faders to control the sounds on the Nord. So I wanted to just show you guys how to set that up, period, and how the Montage works as a master MIDI controller. Okay, so back in the day on the Motifs, the easiest way to access this or make it happen was through master mode, and I have a video showing that from a long time ago with the Motif XF. But now on the Montage, they have taken master mode out of the board. So there's a different route that you have to take to be able to set your keyboard up to use a master controller. I have already taken the liberty to set up a layer on the Roland Phantom. I'm going to use this keyboard to demonstrate how to connect the Montage to another MIDI capable keyboard. I've already set up a layer on this keyboard. We have on layer 1, we've got electric piano. On layer 2, we have strings. Layer 3, we have a brass synth. And then layer 4, we have some type of bell-like sound. Okay, so that's 4 sounds that we have here, and we're going to be able to control, we're going to be able to trigger those sounds from the Montage keybed, and we're going to be able to use the faders on the Montage to control that. All right, so what I want to show you how to do first is to set up an initialized sound, and you guys will be able to see the screen on my Montage. So I'm going to push the category button, and I'm going to go to init, which is the top choice right here on the 3rd column. And we're going to pick the AWM2 to start with, okay? So that's just the basic Rompler engine in the Montage. It's initialized sound, so it's going to be initialized piano. I'm going to turn the sound down on the Phantom so you're not hearing anything from that. This is an initialized piano on the Montage, okay? So the Montage has 8 faders, and so that's 8 parts that we're working with at any given time, okay? So we have up to 8 I guess you would say MIDI channels that we're going to be able to transmit on at the same exact time to another keyboard or to another synth or sound module. I've got some sound modules down here, but we're not using those today. We're only going to be transmitting this to the Roland Phantom. All right, so one of the first things you want to do is you're going to want to change this from element, operator, and oscillator level. This is the secondary layer underneath the part volume. So the parts are going to consist of the elements, the operators, and the oscillators. And when it's green, when the faders are green and red, that's how you know that it's on that sub level. If you want to go to the top level, which would be the part level, you're going to push this button and it's going to turn it to blue and red if there is something activated on that specific channel or layer. Okay, so each one of these faders corresponds to one of the parts. There's 8 faders, and then there's 8 buttons here that you can select which part you're currently working with at that specific time. Okay, so right now we have a 1-part initialized piano voice in the Montage. Okay, all right, so the next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to push the edit button over here on the right side of the keyboard. Okay, it's going to take you to a screen that looks like this. General pitch, part settings, or zone settings may be the first thing that you see. Okay, so this blue keyboard switch button here is the indicator that says if the keyboard is sending information to the sound generator in the Montage. Okay, generally speaking, when you turn this off, when you press keys, you're not going to be sending sound. You're not going to be sending a trigger to the internal engine on the keyboard. Okay, when this is lit up, then the keyboard switches on and you can send information to it. All right, but for some reason on the Montage, when you turn this off, if you have that channel selected, it's blue right here on your part select. Even though my keyboard switch is off, this blue button is lit saying that I'm editing channel 1. When I play keys, it's going to make that sound. But if I was to select channel 2, even though there's nothing on channel 2, and the keyboard switch for part 1 is off when I play keys, you don't hear anything, okay? So that's something quirky that I have noticed with other keyboards. I think the Roland Phantom does something similar to that. If you have that channel selected, it's going to send information, or it seems like it's going to send information to the keyboard to generate sound for that part, okay? So we're gonna go back to part 1, and from this screen here, what we wanna do is we're going to tell the keyboard, the Montage, that we only want to, for part 1, we want it to communicate externally. So we want it to not send internal information to the keyboard, we want it to send external information. All right, so when you go to zone settings, you can, there's a part, there is a parameter here that says part mode, and you have two choices, internal and external. If you press, right now we can hear it because it's on internal, okay? If we put it on external, now we don't hear the internal sound engine, okay? And now it should be sending information to the Phantom, and we should hear the electric piano, which is correct, we do. I'm gonna turn it up a little bit more. All right, so we can hear the electric piano playing. All right, and now also fader number 1, look at the fader, the LEDs on the Phantom, it is corresponding with the fader on the Montage. Very simple process to set up a part to work with another part on another keyboard. Now, the other keyboards aren't going to call it a part, so let's refer to it as a MIDI channel. So part 1 is sending information. If you look back here on, I'm going to put this back on internal so you can see it. It's transmitting on, right here it says TXRX channel. That's the transmitting and receive channel. It's sending information on channel 1. You can change that to any one of the 16 MIDI channels that are available with standard MIDI, okay? So we have 16 channels to choose from, and we're going to go external, and it's sending information to channel 1. Now, something also that you might want to do to be safe, because I have noticed there are times that you can send program change information to one of your external keyboards, and you may not want to do that. What a program and bank change does is it's going to change. It's almost like you're turning your jog wheel or your cursor wheel and changing the sound on the other keyboard. So if you don't want that to happen, we're going to turn this off here, and maybe in another video we can discuss exactly how to send program changes from the Montage. All right, so we're going to turn bank select off and program change off on this same screen, and now we should hear the electric piano playing. All right, so from there, I want to show you guys that there is another menu that you can get a little bit more detailed about what information you do want to send to the Phantom or to your external keyboard, and what information you don't want to send to your external keyboard. All right, so that's this parameter here on the side. It says edit, transmit, and receive switch. So if you push that right there, it's going to open up this menu. Now, each one of these blue switches indicates a parameter that can be sent via MIDI. PC is program change, bank select is bank select. That's what we were just talking about as far as sending program changes to change the sound on the external synth. You also have the pitch bend. So you can use your pitch bender on your keyboard, and it's not bending the pitch. I'm gonna turn it back on, and now it should bend the pitch. Okay, so all of these switches indicate a MIDI message that can be sent. So you can get a little bit more detailed here versus the screen that we were on, zone settings, okay? But something specific that I do want to show you guys here is this transmit switch and this receive switch. You're telling the Montage that you want it to be able to receive these changes, okay, through MIDI, okay? So if that's something that you don't want to do, the same way that you can transmit this MIDI information to another keyboard or another synth, you can receive the information too, okay? So we're right now, for the sake of this example, we're talking about transmitting. So we're sending information. This is the information we're sending to another keyboard. Okay, so you can do all of that here. You can change whether the keyboard switch is on or off. You can change which channel you're transmitting on, and your receive switch parameters that you're receiving here at this keyboard, and then the information that you're transmitting at this keyboard. Okay? All right, so then if we want to go to part 2 now and do the same thing, we're just going to push part 2. And now on the montage screen, you'll see now we're editing part 2. So I'm going to go back to zone settings, and I'm going to say, okay, for part 2, I want to be able to send information externally as well. So I'm going to push external. All right, I'm going to push external, and I'm going to turn off those bank program change messages again. All right, so here is the next key thing that we have to do. Okay, so you see I'm pushing this. There's no sound. There's nothing lit in the part 2 LED lane. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to go out to the main part where we're making our sound. And just like with the montage, if we were setting it up to make a layer, we would have to add a sound in each one of these plus areas numbered 1 through 8. We would have to add or take away sounds here in order to perfect or make our layer. Okay, so right now there's nothing in part 2, so that's why this LED is not lit up, and that's why we don't see anything. So right now, if I was to push the plus key to add to this part, I'm going to go to initialize again. Now, it doesn't make any difference what sounds you select here, because we're not triggering sounds on that part, because remember, we're going to be sending it out externally. Okay, so I'm going to put AWM2 like I always do, go to enter, and now we're going to go back to that edit for part 2. We're going to change it to external, and now turn off bank select and program change. And now when I push the keys, we should hear the strings that are on part 2. Okay, it worked. All right, so we have strings on part 2. We just added another part to part 2, so now we should hear strings. All right, so we don't hear anything, and you see the fader on part 2 on the montage is down. And watch when I turn it up on the Phantom, it's the LED is going to go up. And now you can hear that sound, okay? Same thing with the electric piano on part 1. All right, now we have electric piano and strings coming from the Phantom, and there's no sounds being generated from the montage, okay? Let me show you something that I had to do that you might run into. Remember when I told you that keyboard switch indicator is telling you whether it's sending or transmitting information to the key bed? The same way that you would use this button to choose which parts you're sending information directly to your montage key bed, if it was on internal, is the same way you would choose if you're sending information when it's going externally. So you want to hit keyboard switch for any part that you want to transmit information externally on, if it's external, and internally, if it's internal. All right, so when you go back out to your main screen, back to this screen, right here on each one of these lanes, you see the little saying that keyboard switch. If that light is not lit up, you shouldn't hear sound. But remember, I told you whichever channel you are currently selected on, even if the switch is off, it's going to send information on that channel. So right now I'm on channel 2. Even though my keyboard switch is off, you see it's grayed out right here above the mute button, right above this button here. It's grayed out. But we hear strings because part 2 is selected right here. If I select part 1, we won't hear strings anymore, but we're going to hear the EP, even though the control switch is off there. Okay, so if you want to hear both sounds at the same time, you're going to have to make sure this button is lit up for both. Okay, and now we're going to do one more. We push the plus sign, and we're going to go to init to put initialize sound there. We have the AWM2 engine in there, but we're not going to be using the sounds from there. So we're going to go to part 3. We're going to push external. Again, we're going to turn off our bank and program messages. And so now we're going to be able to hear that brass, and now we can hear that brass synth sound. Okay, and you can mix that to taste, however you want it to sound. All right, cool. So now that we have a 3-part layer being triggered on the montage, but we're not using any sounds from the montage, it's all coming from the Phantom. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you guys how to do is that now you can mix sounds from the montage into this and be able to use sounds from it just the same, and we're going to put that on part 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to exit out, we're going to push the plus key right here on part 4, and let's add a flute sound. So we're going to go to woodwind, we're going to go to flute, and I'm going to turn everything down so I can hear. All right, so now we have a flute sound on part 4. That's internal sound engine. Now we're going to add that synth brass sound in. We're going to add the strings in. And we're going to add the electric piano in. All right, so now we have 4 sounds, 3 being triggered from an external source and 1 being triggered from an internal source. All right, now just the same that I showed you guys how to set this up for the Phantom, any other keyboard you have or sound module you have, all you have to do is make sure that module or that keyboard is receiving information on the exact same channel that you're trying to send on from the montage. So what that means is that you have to go into the settings of your keyboard. I am doing this on a Phantom. I can't show you every single keyboard because I don't have every single keyboard. I have a lot of them, but I don't have every single keyboard. So you have to learn how on your keyboard to go in there in the MIDI settings and determine the receive or transmit channel for that keyboard. You have 16 to choose from with standard MIDI, and we have 8 parts that we can access at a time from the montage. So go into your keyboard. On the Phantom, it's already set up where the parts 1 through 8 go in that order: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And so each one of these faders that I was triggering or manipulating, number 1 was MIDI channel 1, number 2 was MIDI channel 2, number 3 was MIDI channel 3, and then watch when I do the fader on number 4, it doesn't do anything because remember, we're on a internal sound for fader number 4. So that's why it's not adjusting here at all. So you can come up with all kinds of wild configurations, controlling multiple modules. If your keyboard can receive MIDI on more than one channel at a time, then you can really get complex with this. And you could have single sounds set up on your keyboard, your outside keyboard, meaning not the montage. You can have single sounds set up that you can play and solo and do things with that, and it won't affect the MIDI information at all that's being sent, transmitted from the montage. Okay, the last thing that I want to show you guys is just the same as if we were setting up a layer on the montage. To be able to make a split or a layer, we have access to those same tools in this mode. Okay, so if we go back to edit in that first screen that I showed you guys, which was under zone settings, general pitch, and then zone settings, you have a zone velocity limit that's right here at the top, zone VEL limit, that's zone and velocity limit. So what that does is the velocity of the keys, meaning how hard or how soft the keys are pressed, you can determine what that number or what that value is before it triggers the sound, even for an external sound. So to show you guys that, I'm going to turn all the sounds off that we have internally, except for, let's just keep the synth brass. So that's on part 3. So we're going to push 3 to go to part 3. And let's say that I don't want my synth brass sound to come in unless I press the keys very hard. Okay. So let's say I want it to get to like level, right now it's triggering, even if I press them, it's triggering even if I press them soft or if I press them hard. So let's move this number up to, let's say 100. So now my velocity that goes from 1 to 127, this sound is not going to kick in until I press the keys where the velocity hits 100, okay? So you can use that by number. You can select the number for the low and the high, or you can press keyboard, and now when it's if your cursor is in that spot, now the keyboard is listening or it knows how hard you're pressing the keys. So instead of putting a number in there and having to guess, you can actually press it the way you want it to be, and the keyboard says, okay, that was velocity 73. So we won't bring your sound in until it reaches that level. So if I turn this keyboard switch back off now, it's set to 83. I'm gonna play the sound and it won't come in unless I hit this keys hard enough to get to velocity 73. Same thing, I'm gonna put this back at 0, or 1, excuse me. The same thing with the zone note limit. This is how you would split your keyboard. If you don't want your synth brass sound to play on the lower end of the keyboard, then you just go in and you say, okay, I don't want it to come in until it gets to this C right here. So I guess that would be C4. Let's see. No. That's C4. All right, that's C2. So anything below C2, we don't have any sound from that brass synth sound. But once it gets to C2 and up, we have sound, okay? And you could do that same way we triggered it using the keyboard switch. If you don't know the numbers of your keys, you just push the keyboard switch button, and now the keyboard is listening to change this parameter for you that's selected. So if I push this F here, now it changed to F2, okay? When you're done selecting it, you turn it off, and now you have synth brass sound from F2 all the way up, and below F2, you have nothing, okay? All right, guys, so I hope that helps you quite a bit as far as the MIDI capabilities of the Yamaha Montage and the Montage M, and how to utilize those as MIDI controllers with other synths or sound modules. And even, guys, if you have a laptop and you have MIDI capabilities from your Montage there, it can also do the same thing there. So, oh yeah, and this also works on the M8x and the M8x Plus. The interface for the Montage is the exact same, so you guys can set your M8x or your M8x Plus the exact same way, and it will output information to your other keyboards through MIDI, and you guys can come up with a big, huge sound just like you like. All right, so get to know your keyboards. That's what I want you to do. That's what I'm here to help you do. And like I said, I don't have every keyboard, so I don't know how to access your MIDI transmit and receive information. You can look in your manual, and I'm positive that it will be there to let you know what to do. So if this information helps you guys, please hit the like button, hit the share button, comment, and please hit the subscribe and the notification bell so you guys can stay updated when I upload new information. Like I said, I'm here to help you guys out, and I want you to get the most that you can get out of your keyboard. We're out.